Now it is time to walk you through the idea of the metaverse, detailing why it exists, how it works, what it hopes to achieve, why it matters, and how it will strengthen the creator community overall. This session is brought to you in partnership with Epic Games, and who better than a technology evangelist who specializes in games and empowering film animation studios in using real-time tech to throw light on the same. Please put your hands together and join me in welcoming Mr. Arvind N, technology evangelist, Epic Games. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Hello. All right. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I'm kind of easing you into physical events right now because that's how you usually start meetings earlier. Hope you're all comfortable. I'm very excited to be part of MMA IMPACT India forum because after 2 years, I'm actually speaking at a physical event and at such a really impactful event. I am Arvind N. I have been with Epic Games for about a year and a half, 2 years now actually, and I have been making games and making real-time content for a decade and a half. And what I'm really going to be talking about is the metaverse. And of course, this is a quote from Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney, who has been talking about the metaverse for quite a while. And this quote says, over the coming decades, the metaverse has the potential to become a multi-trillion-dollar part of the world economy. Fantastic, right? But what really is the metaverse? What is it? Am I a metaverse? Are you metaverse? Share metaverse? Who knows? No one knows, right? And that's kind of what the clarity I hope to bring today, to say what is the metaverse, who is building it, what is it for, and how can you actually make a business out of being in the business of the metaverse or building businesses in the metaverse. So let's define what a metaverse is in very loose terms, because frankly, it's like defining what the internet could be when you're in 1998, right? Or in 1995, someone said describe the internet, you would have, it will be very difficult, and that's kind of where we are. We know certain fuzzy parts of what the metaverse could be, and so we are building tools within Epic Games that allow you to build for the metaverse, but let's first define what the metaverse is. First off, it is a persistent real-time 3D medium for creating and sharing experiences. Now, Mr. Arvind N talked about his experience of going from one place to another, trying to buy some clothing, and then getting his friend's opinion on whether the color works or not. Yeah, that's a real-time experience, and the persistence of what he is going to buy stays. So yeah, that's definitely, we are entering into the realm of the metaverse at the point of time. Second, openness is key because there is no one metaverse. Once again, I'm stealing examples from Mr. Arvind J, which is there's Lego, which is having their own metaverse. There is Lady Gaga, there is Nike. Every one of them is providing this user-generated content creation tool back to the users for them to create their own content, which means interoperability between these different metaverses is extremely important. A really good example of that is if you go to a physical mall today, if you have to go from Adidas store to a Nike showroom, you have to have the same shoe kind of work in those shoes, in those rooms. It kind of makes sense. But if you're building for the metaverse, if a Nike shoe is not allowed inside an Adidas showroom, that doesn't work. So that's why you have to have the interoperability, which means openness is extremely key for that. The third component is metaverse is all about having a very strong social component to it. Once again, examples of checking with your friends to see if something looks good, checking with your spouse to see if a particular piece of furniture looks good, and just general, a factor about pride, saying I'm sporting something that's awesome. Why does anyone do anything? Why does someone buy a Gucci bag? Because you're showing off. You're telling the world that I am sporting a Gucci bag. So social component is very important. And as an example of how that social component is really working, one of the biggest games in the world today is Fortnite, which is made by Epic Games. It has 350 million active users. At any given point of time, you'll find about 15 million people playing it concurrently worldwide. And why are they playing it? It's because of the social component where they're not just playing games, they're making content, they are hanging out, they're socializing, and that's kind of where the metaverse is working towards. And finally, it also has to be accessible to all the developers and, importantly, creators. An analogy of that is YouTube. Today, YouTube is built to has a lot of development APIs. You could embed stuff, you could clip videos, very developer friendly. But it won't be what it is if it doesn't have a fantastic creator interface which allows for anyone to go in and start uploading content and, more importantly, making money out of it. So while it has to be developer friendly, it also has to be creator friendly for anyone who is non-technical and more creative to start creating and making content into this metaverse. So with that out of the way, what does the metaverse really start to look like? Is it a virtual reality goggle, like, you stay in an immersive world? Is it around you? Like, could it be like transparent LED panels? Could it be just a hoarding that you're seeing on the road? And I'll show you a few examples of what a metaverse could potentially look like with some examples that has been built by the community really. So let's begin with one. If I can press that. Ooh, need to go back. So this is an example from a movie that some of you might have or might not have seen. I don't think it's playing. Can someone play that movie for me if you can? That's already go there.
Hi, I'm Thomas Anderson. Like many of you, I work with computers. But computers are also mirrors, reflecting back who and what we are and the choices we make, the worlds we build. You still got it.
Like riding a bike, they say.
So sure, that looks like a video game. Sure, yeah, it's a video game. But what is important about that is it touches upon a lot of the things that metaverse is all about. One, it's a persistent universe. It's essentially a digital twin of the city of San Francisco that's there alive all the time. All the human beings, including Keanu Reeves, is digital human beings. Keanu Reeves did not even show up for the shooting over there. Not this shooting, but this shooting, right? And so there are meta-humans over there. And there is a social component to it. It's not a single player game. You have multiple people coming into the city and working together, and you don't have to go around shooting people. You can just go around hanging around with people, change your clothes around and see what's going on. So it's an immersive simulation rather than looking at it as a video game. Now, video games has been at the forefront of real-time technologies for the last 30 or 35 years. And that's why video game engines like Unreal Engine are very well positioned to be part of this real-time 3D experience, which is going to power the metaverse. So let's look at another example of what a metaverse might look like. This is a live augmented reality show called Alter Ego. Very interesting. Let's take a look at what that is.
Magic.
Whoa.
This is unlike how we've seen people perform ever in the history of television.
This is freaking nutty nuts.
Fox is making television history and bringing you the world's first Avatar singing competition. This is Alter Ego.
Look what we got here.
Why do you feel like you need an alter ego?
There's something about how I look behind this alter ego that I feel like it's held me back.
Lost dreams and second chances are reignited when singers from all walks of life become the stars they've always dreamed of being.
Look what we got here.
Growing up, people always judged me by the way I looked and the way I sang, but I realized I don't have to be afraid.
So that's interesting, right? Because it's merging the digital world with our real world. You have folks like, I'm dressed like I just came back from a holiday, which I did, but that's who I am. And what if I want to represent myself as someone else, like, someone who I truly believe in, and that's kind of where your avatar creation comes into play, and you're merging real world into the digital world, and it kind of seems seamless on that front. Let's look at another example of doing business in the metaverse, right? This is an example from Balenciaga. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That was in collaboration with Fortnite, where it's a fashion brand, right? And it's all about clothes, statements, and whatnot. So what does that look like? How do you make business and merge both real world and the simulator or digital world together, or maybe have them both in the same place? Let's take a look at that. And here, when you're buying a physical piece of clothing, you're also buying the digital piece of clothing. And in fact, more and more people value buying a digital piece of clothing because that's where their friends are. My nephews, myself included, buy so much digital items because why does anyone buy an item? Why do I buy this cool looking, actually bad looking sandals? Because that's who I am, and I want to show off that this is who I am, and I am showing it off to people that I care about. And if all the people I care about is in the digital space, I would also want to have that object in the digital space. And this is a great example of that kind of interaction. Final example is Ferrari. Let's take a look at that. But on a much bigger money value, right? People would want to drive a Ferrari for sure, but maybe they want to first drive it in the metaverse before they can decide to purchase it in the real life. So so that's some examples of how, what might the metaverse look like? That's great, but then who's building it, and how do you build for the metaverse? So let's talk about that. So as I mentioned, Epic Games has been in the epicenter of talking about the metaverse for quite a while. Our vision as a company has always been towards metaverse, and we've been growing quite rapidly. And we, of course, make Fortnite, which is the largest game. And in addition to that, we also provide a lot of tools that build Fortnite. So Fortnite is a peek into what the metaverse could look like. So we then give out the tools like Unreal Engine, which is what Fortnite has built upon, to the creator community, for the creator community to start developing their own metaverses. Like I said, Fortnite is built with Unreal Engine, and it's free. Openness is key, remember? So when you want to build for the metaverse, the engine itself is completely accessible. So if you're building for a metaverse, if you're building for any kind of application that is on the metaverse realm, it's free to get started. It's also cross-platform because you don't know where your application is going to be. Is it on an immersive place like the Matrix one, or is it in an AR application? And this is a great example of where we just traversed into having a metaverse on the web. This is just got released last week.
This is where I wanna be, nah, nah, nah. Never ever gonna leave, nah, nah, nah.
create once, publish to wherever you want, because that's kind of what Metaverse is going to look like. This is me just playing a game on a browser. So you can see that's Chrome, and I'm just literally just having a real-time 3D high-fidelity experience as I'm running on the browser, because the compute is happening on a simulated environment on a cloud environment. Because of these features, we are seeing a adoption of this technology, not just in branding or marketing or specific to sales, but also specific to industry verticals like automotive, games, film and television, automotive, broadcast, live events, training simulation, manufacturing and advertising, and even fashion, retail, and even banking for the most part, because this is kind of where the world is headed towards. And we are seeing more and more users adopting this within the Unreal ecosystem. There's like about 14 million people developing for the Metaverse or Metaverse applications. So how does one become Metaverse ready? Some of the tools that you can start using right now: Unreal Engine 5, very, very high fidelity in real time with a whole bunch of tech which I won't go into, but you could bring in billions of polygons inside your application, have realistic lighting, have virtualized texture, have surround sound, making it a more immersive experience. It's kind of what a quick look at what that looks like. Very, very high resolution, high poly stuff that's going on. And you're able to build once and then publish it to all platforms. So be it from design stage or R&D stage, to design, to pre-production, to production, to post-sales, regardless of where you are in the life cycle of the product, you are able to use these tools and publish them into a variety of experiences, from still images to immersive experiences. And then you have tools are free, it has to be open. So there's MetaHuman Creator, which allows you to create digitally accurate human beings, and that's kind of what
I could
this
be one of
looks
many.
like. And it's all browser-based and free.
主人公にだってなれる
Je pourrais être architecte,
ou guide
Quizá un artista. You create the narrative. I am MetaHuman.
So this is making creators more accessible to the Metaverse, because this doesn't require any programming, doesn't require any developer intervention. You just go to a browser, start making stuff. And what if you want to bring in your real world into the digital world? So you have a tool called capturing reality. Take out a phone, if it has LiDAR enabled, which is what iPhone 11 or iPhone 12 and above have. Start scanning your universe and bring that into your Metaverse and start building things using the Metaverse. And we have a library of that called the Quixel Megascans, which is existing assets created by professionals, and you can also bring that yourself using capturing reality, which is what this looks like. So you're just bringing in objects, scan them, bring in the real-time 3D data inside Unreal Engine using just your phone, or if you have a very nice little setup like drones and cameras and LiDAR scanners, you could do that too. And what about bringing it to the web? So Sketchfab is a great example of that, where you could scan the object, but if you want to embed that object into a web interface, you can do that through Sketchfab. It's also free, so you can just upload that object, and when you want to put it on an e-commerce site, the last speaker talked about showing images, rather than writing text? What if you are able to show the object itself rather than showing an image in 3D? And this also automatically supports augmented reality. So when you're on a phone, in fact, that particular shoe is a great example where I actually took that shoe, put it on my feet to see if it actually fit my feet, if I could see like any protrusions from my otherwise normal sized feet that I have. And those are cool applications that you could do today with Sketchfab. And if you want to showcase your art as a creator, there is ArtStation, and there's Twinmotion, which allows for world building for creators without actually having to open a very complex editor. And finally, the social component. There's Epic Online Services, which is also for free, which is the same online services that's built on top of Fortnite. So you have your social component, your identity component, your game services, all of that built into this Epic Online Services for you to also start using and start building your own metaverse for free. So with that, wow, right on dot. With that, that is really what the metaverse is heading towards. And I hope I gave you a good idea of what metaverse is, what it could be, how do you grow your business out of it, and what are the tools that you as creators, marketing folks, developers are able to use in order to build a business out of this. So I am Arvind Neelakantan. If you have any more questions, do feel free to email me at arvind.neelakantan@epicgames.com. Thank you so much. It's been an honor being here.